Pensado's Place is brought to you by
He's neither dark or a child, but he's an absolute master of the game. We got a brand new ITL. We got information on our Indaba contest. You know you're at the place. You're at Pensado's Place.
Man, you guys, welcome. It's a special show for me. One of my friends, a cat that I've admired for a number of years and stolen quite a bit from musically. You know what? Like in my world, people think that you should listen to other mixers, but producers are better mixers than mixers. I'm telling you, man, because they're about the vibe, the feel, the emotion, you know, and then we screw it up, make it all technical sometimes. But it's gonna be a good day, Herb.
Yeah, well, our guest certainly is a friend of ours who is literally at the top of several parts of the game, so it's going to be good for our audience.
Oh yeah.
How was your week?
Well, you know, I'm in I got a new L for ITL.
Right, absolutely.
So I'm in the new L. It's working out good.
And we're going to have to show the L at some point in time.
I want it to be a big surprise, you know?
We'll roll it out. But I will tell you, as somebody close to you, you are absolutely walking with a different kind of swagger.
And you know what? It's there ain't much in life that makes you just really happy, you know? Good woman, good plug-in, good studio, good song to mix.
Correlation between woman and plug-in, or?
I'll discuss that plug-in with you too. I told you about the plug-in that checks if your fly is down. I got another one too that's even better than that.
Okay, cool.
No, it's good times. You know, you do this for a minute like I have, and you never get jaded because it's a moving target. It's you're not shooting a fixed target. Every time you think you're just about to get good, everything changes, you know?
Absolutely.
And I love that.
Quick shout out. Can we do a quick shout out to John Bourne at Shure, who spent some time with us last week?
Yeah, they got some cool stuff going on over there.
Very cool guy, friend of the family's. You're going to hear about this shortly, but they came to Dave probably 6-7 months ago about a product design. Dave was very hard on them, but just very honest, right? And they went back and showed us their improvements and their refinements and built it out, and it's pretty spectacular, isn't it?
It is, and one of the things I like about it is it's a new microphone, but not only is it really good, we'll see how it finishes, but it's very close down. It looks like it's going to play out to be a great bargain. You know, I'm always looking out for our audience and trying to help them find things that are top-notch, pro quality, but affordable.
Yeah.
And we still don't have a monitor yet that's top quality that's affordable, but we're getting there. We're getting closer. But this microphone could change things.
Stay tuned. We'll get it to you. Shall we get on to stuff?
Let's do it, my friend.
As usual, good to see you guys. We're coming to you live from the Art Institute of California, Los Angeles.
Yes.
From the beautiful HD studio, which stands for
Herb and Dave.
Herb and Dave, absolutely. Our social media drill, you know, like and subscribe.
I got to stop you. That would be H and D. I got to come up with something better because HD would be Herb Dave.
I see.
Herb and Dave would be H and D.
We'll work that out.
I'm glad I stopped everything.
Thank you for that.
All momentum just died.
So now please go back to liking and subscribing us. Hello to our wonderful sponsors, Vintage King. What's happening out there?
Yes.
Good stuff coming there. We got Jacob Schneider in the chat room.
Oh, yeah, I got a good one for Jacob today.
What's the Stump the VK guy question?
I think I'm going to get him. Well, you know, recently there was a lot of talk about 1-bit audio as opposed to 24-bit audio. In America, more is better, so how can 1-bit be any good, Jacob? And if it is good, and explain that to us. I first learned about it with the Korg MR2 field recorder, which kind of lit up the world, and so if you can explain that to us, that'd be great, Jacob.
So you know where to find that answer. Go do that. Also, hello to our friends at Avid, Mary and Anthony and Tony and all those guys. Good stuff coming from them soon, so we just want to give you a shout out as we usually do. And then to our Indaba friends. The R&B track Feel Real by Matthew Weiss. Make sure the submission period is over, but the voting period is not. So make sure you get your vote in. The voting period ends May 10th. and then we'll announce that winner and go from there. That's going to be a cool thing. I hear that track is very cool. And just to confirm,
It's very cool.
Dave will be involved in making those final decisions. It's not just a social media
I'm gonna be
exercise.
involved. I won't make the damn final decision.
There you go. You heard it from the man. So, with all that said being done, we got a brand new ITL. Dave, why don't you introduce that?
Well, as always, I say the same thing every ITL. This is something cool I ran across when I was working the other day, and I like sharing these things with you, but I'm not getting a lot back, guys. I keep giving. I'm not receiving a whole lot of stuff. I need to hear from you. Run it, Will. Today, let's take a look at how to improve and get great stereo bass tracks. In today's world, I'm getting more and more stereo bass tracks, particularly in the pop world and the electronic dance music world. Recently, Showtech shared a technique that I've been using for a minute and really like the way they execute it. Now, if you think about bass and sub in particular, when you buy a sub, you usually just buy one because you don't need stereo subs. The way our ears are designed, we pretty much are designed to hear speech, and very low frequencies are just an extra bonus that we get. Now, speech we can detect because our two ears determine the difference in the time it takes to reach each ear. The brain computes that difference and can tell us where a sound is coming from. Low frequencies are not that important, so they just can come from anywhere, and it's hard to pinpoint. So when you're working on bass, you don't want that to happen. So let's figure out a way to isolate the low frequencies, laser focus that into our ears, and to keep the higher frequencies wide and fat and nice, like in a lot of the pop stuff and electronic music stuff. Here's a bass sound I was recently given by my favorite group, FYI, Monster Block, is Addis and the guys. Okay, we've got a lot of nice, really low frequencies. Now, I'm just going to give you a little hint. I've been using low air a little bit lately to get a little bit more sub. There's my setup. Looks like I add a little bit of 100 with this guy. I'm 24 dB broad, pretty drastic cut at around 35 hertz. Compressing it. I'm using a 6-to-1 ratio, adding some odd and even harmonics. Very slow attack, medium slow release on the compressor. I'm gonna leave that up so you can see it working. Now here's the most important part. On this track, I'm going to only keep everything below 300 cycles. Now I've duplicated the track. This is an exact copy below, and on the track below, I'm going to keep everything above 330. Now I've rolled off a little bit of top end on that track. We'll go over that in a minute. Let's listen to what we've got. Now, if you notice, I put the compressor last in the chain because the amount the compressor moves is going to be affected by this. So it's only compressing the low part of the frequency spectrum. Now, we duplicated the track. Let's see what we've got now. Okay. Now, what I've done is I've added a multi-tap delay to kind of give it a little cool width, and then the UAD dimension D, just to widen it even more. So, here we go. I get the low rumble of the bass, just focused like a laser beam in the middle, and all the cool wide stuff out on the edges. As always, this technique can be used for guitars. It can be used for a lot of stuff. You know what? I promised you I was going to show you. Actually, I didn't promise, but this is why I rolled the high end off. Listen. It's just too sizzly. So. And then I'm anticipating a lot of keyboards that have a lot of high frequency information in that area. So check this out. Try it and experiment with it as always on a bunch of different things, a bunch of different ways. Modify it. You can add your own unique effects after, before, and really come up with some cool stuff. I know you can. And when you do, let me hear it. All right? Bye.
It's such a pleasure to welcome a friend. We get to just go in other directions when it's a friend.
I'm giddy like a little school.
I know, right?
Right.
We have enormous respect for this guy. Mostly, it's a couple of things. It's not just his talent; it's his humanity too, and that's reflected in his music. We are happy to welcome Rodney Jerkins. What's up, brother?
What's up? What's up?
You're going to work that till somebody notices it. Huh?
Rodney got it.
Exactly.
Man, we got to thank Kim, too. Kim really helped us.
Kim, absolutely.
Your girl,
on
Kim.
his staff, absolutely. She absolutely helped.
Shout out to you, Kim. Thank you so much.
Fire away. How are you, man?
I'm great, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here and hang out with you guys.
Yeah, see our little things.
is
We've come a
great.
long way. We've all kind of grew up together.
This is great, man. This is awesome what you guys are doing. Just awesome.
Thanks,
Oh,
man.
appreciate it, man. It means a
Speaking of
lot.
awesome things, Music Mogul's cool, too. I like that.
Oh, thanks,
yeah.
man.
I submitted my video. It's rap, so I want to put a special shout out for my video.
You want to explain what Music Mogul is, or have Rodney explain?
Let's let Rodney talk about it.
It's a
Something he's proud of.
Virtual world.
Yeah.
Virtual world. You know, one thing that I'm big on is just new things, new fun things to help people get their talent out. I don't know if you're familiar with Blaze Track. It's another thing that I'm part of. Really cool. Just ways, you know, we have to. When I was coming up, you know, you had to catch a bus and stand outside of record companies, wait for an A&R to come outside.
That's right.
Now, because of the internet, you can actually, you know, the A&R, I always tell people, YouTube is the A&R now.
That's right.
And Twitter and Facebook. So
true.
you know, there's different ways now to get your music heard.
And I thought that you moved early for some of your stature into that space, finding talent that way, because you did that 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
with
you
that.
were absolutely.
He's been early at everything. I mean, what when you were first making hits, like 16, 17?
I don't know if I made a hit at 16 years old.
They were hits to
I was
me.
around,
I thought
I
that.
was around some hit makers.
You were
at
on the
16,
radar, for
but I was
sure.
on my way.
Well,
Yeah.
that first remix that Jack Coleman was involved with, that was, I can't remember what it was, but that was really cool too. Rodney, I love your stance on producing and what it requires to call yourself a producer. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Producers, I think we're like the directors of TV and film. You know, production is so important, and you have to know the beginning, the middle, and the end. So it's the idea, or taking the idea to the next level. It's knowing how to arrange it when it comes to vocals and backgrounds and leads, and not overproducing. And it's kind of like scoring the movie in a sense, and making sure everything sits right. And you know, the final stage, which is the mix stage, making sure you have the right mixer for the song, making sure that all the balances are there and you're not losing the emotion, the intention of where you started from. You know, like a lot of times, you know, for me, I start everything raw. I start everything with just piano. I never do a beat first. I never, you know, it's always piano, because I believe melody it will live forever. So I'll sit down, play progressions, and hum melodies, and so it's important that even in the final product that essence isn't lost.
Yeah.
That's really what's important to me.
And that's the point when I was introducing him about how his humanity is infused into me. It's always been that way. I don't care if the beat was slamming or if the ballad was making you cry. There was something that made it past a technical thing into something that touched you emotionally.
That's right.
That's part of your goal.
That's right. It's always the ultimate goal, because in the song making process, the thing that I'm trying to get across is I'm trying to convey the emotional message. So if there's songs, and you know, like Dave, when we're working on Keisha Cole, Should I Let You Go, for example, right? You know, here's a person who has an attitude about her. That's what she's known for. So musically, I want to bring that to the table as well. So the beat needs to sound like an attitude. The strings need to be intense, and all of that all comes together to complement the artist. That's what it's really about.
Man, I want to jump to Deja Vu, but I can't. You mentioned melodies. I've been fascinated for years and years and years, because even though I can write a song, universally no one likes it. So there's got to be something to this songwriting thing that either you got the gift or you don't. And your melodies they just touch millions of people. Are you born with those melodies? How do you get a melody?
I think it is a gift from God. I really believe that. I've studied a lot of music as a young kid. I listened to a lot of, in my house there was a lot of gospel music playing, and then we couldn't listen to R&B music, so I had to sneak it.
There you go.
So I would sneak, Earth, Wind and Fire and Guy and, any band that I liked. But the one thing I just believe in the songwriting process, the progressions lead the melody. For me, as when I'm sitting down, when I'm playing chords, my fingers will slip into the melody. It'll slip into where it needs to go, and it is a gift. Can it be taught? I think it can. I think it can be taught. I just don't know how great it will be. I think it's something inside of you that just comes out.
But don't you think? Because often, we have a mixture of pros and amateurs, and what we're always trying to tell folks is go for it. Like, you can't know if you've got the gift if you're holding it back and trying to keep it apart, right? Don't you need to be sort of fearless?
Let it out.
Yeah.
If you want to be a producer, a songwriter, an engineer, whatever you want to be, you have to go full head. You know what I mean? I thank my father for giving me the opportunity to go full head, full steam, even though we had a hardcore spiritual background.
Right.
And there was rules in our house, and the rules was you can't listen to this type of music. But when he heard it coming through the walls and I was making it, he pushed me into my destiny. He said, "Go for it," and that's really important. You literally have to at least try.
Yeah.
When I worked with Michael Jackson, he always said, try something new, try something different. Don't ever stop trying. Thomas Edison kept trying. You got to keep on trying. So that's what's important.
Rodney, a little bit of philosophical stuff. It seems like in the African American community, the church isn't as much the central part of culture and society as it once was. And so many of the people whose work I respect and admire came out of that church environment. Are we losing something by not the new crop of producers? They're not from that, we call it church, from that background as much as you are, and Nephew comes to mind, a bunch of other people like that. Is that a problem, you think, or is?
I don't know if it's a problem. I think there's some new guys on the come up. My cousin DJ Camper, he came from my neck of the woods, and I remember. It's funny you say that though, because people always ask me, "How did you make the Full Moon album with Brandy?" And I would run from church to the studio. Like literally, I would be in church. My studio was a block away. You've been there, and I go over there because I would be hearing the groove while I was in church, and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I could make this, put a track over this, and I'd go and do it." And I don't know, it was just a feeling. And you're right, a lot of musicians, a lot of producers definitely came from being in church. And I think what happened was in the last 10 years, the explosion of the megachurch, where the megachurch is bigger and it's multicultural. So because it's multicultural, the sound of it has changed. So the roots where I come from is very soulful. It's very soulful in the church. Now with the multicultural church, you have to know how to tame it and bring it down so it relates to everybody.
That's astute. Yeah, like there's two really, really, really difficult audiences to impress. The first two rows at the Apollo and the first two pews at church.
That's right.
If you can get those,
not that much different.
If you can get that going, you know how to move people. You know how to entertain people. You know how to engage people.
The other part of that is the metric has changed. So if you don't see necessarily successful producers in the record business, it doesn't mean that successful producers haven't found other ways to get music out from the church. But it's not about hit records. Because the reality of it is, in Gerald Busby, and now a departed influential executive of ours, he was involved in the last tour, one of the tours with Patti LaBelle. She just toured the mega churches. She didn't have to go outside that. The churches were big enough, the audiences were big enough. So there's a whole ecosystem inside the church of all stripes where music is made and produced. It doesn't necessarily be about chart records. So anyways, not to get off on a tangent, but right?
That's correct.
Rodney, like you always sound modern. You always sound, I can always tell when your records come on that they were made today, but yet they have a I don't know, a classic element to them sometimes that I don't hear a lot of other people do. You're able to keep your influences and your roots, but yet you find a way to make it modern. Like, well, let's jump right in. Like on Deja Vu, Beyonce, you've got the live horns, but yet you've got this kick drum pattern, this classic Rodney Jerkins. You know what I'm saying? Is that conscious, or that just flows through you?
It just flows through me. You know, I'm always trying to figure out how to make something that's next without compromising what I've learned. That's what it really is. I'm a student of music as far as back as I can remember. So I want to snatch all my influences, right, from back in the day. I mean, if you listen to Deja Vu was really just, and when it came out, it was a noun sound with a hybrid of Quincy Jones.
Absolutely.
That's what it was, you know, and it was the intention when we were doing it. It wasn't like we were trying to think so far out the box. It was like, okay, if we were to make a record that wasn't disco, right? Because that probably wouldn't work now. But if we made a record that at least had the live horns and the live bass elements, what would that be? And then it was like, well, we definitely got to have some hip hop undertone. And man, if I could mix an 808 with the live bass, that might even be something even crazier. And then it was just like, whoa, okay, it works.
Yeah, more than it worked.
And by the way, being distinctive in everything you do. So when you hear Beyonce saying bass, and the bass comes in distinctive, and she says hi-hat, and the hi-hat is a distinctive pattern. That's what helps make
808, I like she said 808.
Exactly, that's what helps make that record.
Smart. So smart, absolutely.
And John played the bass on that, man. Kudos to him.
Oh,
If he's listening.
My boy John from St. Louis, he's a bad boy, and he's a great producer. He is going to be one of the ones that's going to come up and actually shock the world. He's a great guy, great producer.
The kick, your kick drum patterns. It's funny you said you don't want to be disco because the kick drum's not disco
At all.
But your kick drum patterns, to me personally, when I listen to your work, they carry way more importance in the track than anybody else I know. And I listen to a lot of music, and what you do is you let the kick drum solve the problems the kick drum needs to solve, keep the low end tight, you know, all the things. But then you throw in these other beats here and there that I just go, whoa, where'd that come from? And then not only is that extra kick drum in there, but there's three keyboards, percussion, everything hitting with it. And I get this groove that's just, I don't know, it takes the monotony out of it and puts hypnosis into the process.
It's the kick drum for me is the life of the song. And when me and my wife have 3 beautiful children, right? And
Congratulations on the
thank you.
Shout out to Joy.
Get the
There we go. 3-way power.
Okay.
There we go.
Being in the hospital room with my wife and listening to the monitor of our kid's heartbeat, which is the life. And the heartbeat is similar to what a kick drum sounds like. So for me in that process, the kick drum is everything. People don't even know how much emphasis when I'm working on records that I put on kick drum patterns. Like it's so because it is the movement for me, for my production, you know, it's how I want it to move and how I want you to feel and how I want you to dance, and the kick drum is controlling that movement. It is.
If you start with the piano first, the kick drum's got to be second, right?
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always.
And then your kick drums are so cool. It takes the pressure off of the hi-hat part, takes the pressure off the bass part. It just
They become hooks to me.
yeah.
What you do with your instrumentation becomes hooks that play around the hook in the melody, and every part of the song becomes interesting. I gravitate toward, like Deja Vu drove me nuts when I first heard it because I liked so many different things about it, and it just percolated from the top to the end, but all in ways I got it all.
Yeah, you know what's special about that particular record is that even from a drum standpoint, there's only 4 sounds. You have a snare, you have a kick, you got a bass, 808, and you have a hi-hat. But the thing is, in production, it's all about spacing.
That's right.
It's all about making sure everything sits in its own space and they're not crowding each other. So the kick drum pattern is actually moving away from the hi-hat pattern. And for me,
breathe in between that. Right?
And for me, if you listen to like a lot of stuff that I do, my drums, 99% of the time isn't quantized. And that's just, it was something that I learned. One time I was in the studio working on a track and I was locked into a quantize and I felt like it just felt like this. It just felt stale to me. And so I was like, you know what? I'm turning quantize off and how do I play the drums? I'm not the tightest drummer. There's no way I'm perfectly on. And that's what I want people to feel even in my programming. I want people to feel like, oh, the bass might be a little loose there or the kick might be a little late or a snare might be purpose. But that's what it is. I want it to feel like that. I want it to feel real.
Man, I'm glad to hear you say that because I think we're about to get what drum machines and quantization did to drums. Auto-tune is doing the vocals. I can't wait to where we get that same concept going with auto-tune, where it's going to be cool to be out of tune. You know,
Right.
We're close. We're getting there. We're getting there. Explain to me when I sit down to write. I know I'm supposed to start with an intro, verse, chorus, sometimes a pre-chorus, and then I get this thing called a bridge in my head. How do you think of bridges? Because your bridges are like little songs in themselves. I could take your bridges and create a whole new song out of them. What is the bridge to you, and how do you utilize it within the framework?
The bridge for me is the most important. Like, what is a bridge? Like, really think about it. Let's think about it again from life standpoint. A bridge is meant to help you cross over to the next part, to where you're going. It's getting you to the next. It's getting you over to your next destination.
That's right.
And so for me, it's like, okay, I've told the story. I've caught you with the hook. I got you reeled in, but now I need to take you to the next place.
That's right.
And that's really what it is. For me, the bridge is very important. If you listen to He Wasn't Man Enough by Tony Braxton or Rock My World by Michael Jackson.
Telephone. Got that big long bridge in there?
Yeah,
extra bridge.
Yeah, it's so important it's so important. And also from a lyrical standpoint, to bring it all in, to tie it all together, to complete your story, because hooks are just repetitive. It's the catch. You know what I mean? It's the thing that keeps you, but the bridge actually brings the story back to the forefront.
Let me ask you this, Rod. When I'm mixing, I think about the bridge and I'm thinking, okay, if I can just get this right, I can imagine a million people running to the record store or running to their computer to iTunes to buy the song when I come. If I do the bridge right, come out of the bridge and hit that third chorus just right, and hammer them, I can just visualize people going and buying that song. Do you use it for tension and release?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Absolutely. And one thing that I do in probably most of my productions, a new sound will be introduced after the bridge. So what you didn't hear in the 2 hooks before the bridge, going into that hook after the bridge, I will introduce a new sound because I feel like it adds more lift. And another thing from a mixing standpoint, I always say, like, make sure the vocals come up more after the bridge. And the reason why is because I introduced the new sound.
Did you get that from me?
Right.
You might have taught me that.
I think I did.
I think you did teach me that, actually. I think one time.
I think it was on Coco.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was you that taught me that.
God, what a great singer.
Oh,
What's
man,
she doing now?
I was just listening to her yesterday. She's
SWV.
She's great. Yeah.
And that nasal. I digress. Yeah. So you were talking about changing up, adding new things in the end. Another thing about your productions that I think the cats coming up now that want to learn is you rarely let 4 bars go by without something changing and something happening, but you never let 8 bars go by without something happening. And I always I always can feel bar 8 because it's like you know what I'm saying?
I was working in the studio last night with my engineer Matt at the house, and I was. And you know, he's young and he's new and he's fresh and he's good. And we were working on a song and I was like, man, every 4 to 8 bars, something has to happen. It's very important because I don't want to bore people.
Exactly.
I don't want to bore people. If you listen to As Long As You Love Me by Justin, it's kind of like a musical roller coaster. It's like, okay, we're going like, okay, you know what? Matter of fact, the bridge, the bridge chord, the chords change while Big Sean raps.
That's true.
Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
let's not just break it down to a beat and have a rapper rap on it. Let's have him rap over the chord change. How about that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what production should be. It should be about keeping your attention as well. Without overdoing it too, because what I don't want to say is overproduce a song. Pick your spots.
It's like just the right amount of jalapenos. It's not too much to turn you off, but enough for flavor.
That's right.
On As Long As You Love Me, it's in a minor key. I notice you like minor keys.
That's where Dark from Darkchild came from.
Is it really?
Yeah. Really? When I was a kid, I used to sit down and my attorney at the time, his name was Brad Rubens from Philly. And Brad, we were trying to think of a name for my production company, and he goes, so explain your sound. And I was like, it's dark. I like minor chords. I play minor chords. He's like, dark. That's a good word. That's how it happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that song's in C minor, and then Telephone's in F minor. But there's you're using a Dorian scale, and that's I don't want to get into that. And then As Long As You Love Me, I love it when people are influenced and borrow from other genres, but I hate it when they don't do it well. And the dubstep in that song is as good as it gets. Yeah. I mean, in fact, people ought to just quit because they ain't gonna be no better than that.
Well, if you go back to even the year 2001, when I worked on a project with Michael Jackson called Invincible, and there's a song that we did on that project called Heartbreaker, and we were doing dubstep back then and didn't even know what we were doing.
Wow.
If you listen to it now, you'll be like, whoa, that's dubstep. We were doing that then.
You know what, I remember that song.
Yeah, and we were just trying things, not even knowing. But on As Long As You Love Me, it was intentional. The thing that I always felt like, wow, I love the futuristic and the harshness of dubstep, but no one can write melody to it because there was too much going on.
Right.
So we were doing we're like, okay, how do we tame it? Where, okay, you get the feeling of it, but we tame it so you get the melody. Because melody, again, is the strongest element of a song.
Would you say it's a fair comment to say that people basically hire you for your taste? It's like you can do all these things so well, but at the end of the day, it seems like Rodney Jerkins is about this incredible taste to know what's right, what's not good, what's going to move a group of people melody-wise. And then all your skills are an outgrowth of that taste.
I told Brandy before, I said I could produce you without touching the keyboard. Just off of just what you just said, just knowing my taste and knowing, what I think feels right.
Right.
You know what I mean? I really don't if I wanted to stop producing and say, you know what, let me just executive produce and oversee, I could do that all day.
Well, it's kind of why I alluded to master of the game in the thing. One of the things I think is good for our audience to know is that when you study as much as somebody this accomplished or even my accomplishments, you bring all that to the table, and as you become astute at all of it, it informs other parts of it. So when you can executive produce, you're doing that because you have an artist development sense, you have a marketing sense, you have a thing about truth and feel, technical stuff, and all that makes you better. Same thing you talk about all the time. Your mixes, your ability to have an urban perspective, but keep a pop sensibility.
I like selling records. That's what I
yeah,
like
but
doing.
you're proud of it, and you study it.
That.
It's just a device that all of our audience should utilize in terms of them moving better. By the way, how's your arm, buddy boy? It's time to throw some balls.
Oh, let's do it.
Let's tee up batter's box, and we got a hell of a batter.
I had to prepare for this one.
No question. Yeah, we couldn't phone this one in.
No, I mean, golly.
Fire away.
Okay, Rod. Lead vocals.
Telefunken.
Live bass. I'll take any bass.
Any bass? Jeez.
Just thinking.
See, for me, it's about massive.
Okay, good one.
Yeah.
Hooks.
Repetition.
Cool. Melody.
Infectious.
Favorite Stevie Wonder song?
Ooh, that's tough.
Overjoyed.
Oh.
I know it's a
out to
little
the
soft,
wife.
but that's my wife.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's the first thing I thought too. Teddy Riley.
Mentor, brother, friend,
The best.
everything. I wouldn't be sitting with you guys talking if it wasn't for him.
You know what? I could almost say the same thing. He changed my life listening to his records.
That's right.
Strings.
Larry Golden, Philly.
Oh, man. I hadn't heard that name in a while. Digital.
Digital.
Wow.
The what I have in my house, the SSL, and the duality.
Your favorite sit down to write a song synth? Or do you ever sit down with a synth? Or you
I sit with a piano.
Okay, my bad.
Bad question, Dave.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Okay, the 808, dead or alive?
Alive and growing.
There you go.
Cool.
Dirty. Dirtier.
There you go.
Trap
Dirty.
music. Trap
Dirty.
music
That's
is
right.
bringing it back.
That's right.
All right.
Good
Love it. I love it,
question.
Rob. I thought you were going to say clean for digital because you like the cleanness of digital.
I do like the cleanness, but I'm from the old school, so I like warmth too. So, but there's something about the dirtiness that I like because when you hit it hard, just make it sound a little crunchy at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, I got to tell you, Rodney, I think, holds the LA record for blowing up more speakers than anybody. Rodney's actually caught speakers on fire before.
Listen, when I went down to Jersey a long time ago, and I like loud music, I was wincing in the corner, but I was trying to man up because I was a little hot as a manager. But there was something that was freeing about just getting yourself lost in it that big.
I like that.
You guys familiar with the PNCs, right?
Yeah.
So they sent these big ones, these really big ones over to my house to check out. I had them and they came over and said, so what do you think? I said, not loud enough.
They're huge.
They're not loud.
I put fuses on my NS10s because he kept blowing the damn things up. How do you hear? All you're hearing is and you're like,
you know what?
Hi-hat needs a little more high end. I'm like,
You know what it is? It's funny. I remember.
just teasing you, man.
Yeah, I remember working with Michael Jackson and playing things over the phone, and he would be like, "Can you bring the hi-hat up over the phone?" I'm like, "What are you talking? How can you hear that?"
Oh my God.
You know, I think when you do this, as long as we do it, we just know it's more of a feeling than it doesn't matter if it's loud or soft. We just feel it.
and I'm just teasing you. You monitor really.
No, but it's true. I mean, before each show starts, I'm always saying, "Can I hear the intro and make it loud?"
We
the
use the
energy
intro to kind of
it's
get us
energy.
going.
Absolutely.
Right.
Let's introduce our producer, the lovely Will Thompson, over in corner office.
He visited.
William?
He visited his local haberdasher. Good Lord!
How are you, man?
Forget it. He's wearing a hat.
I'm wearing a hat. That's right.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you
got
guys
some questions for Rod?
doing? I have tons.
Great. Fire
All right,
away.
I'll start right off the bat here from More Bass, Please. Dark, when you're scouting new talent, be it new producers or writers, what's the paramount attribute you're looking for?
I'm looking for potential more than anything. If you got a smidgen of potential that I can work with, I'll get it to where it needs to get to.
Got it. Another one, William.
Let me ask Rodney. In 15 seconds or less, explain the team camp concept that a lot of cats are using now in terms of production, because you utilize a lot of talent within your sphere of influence.
I believe in having a team because I believe that what I don't know I can learn, and what you don't know you can learn. Mm-hmm. So if I feel like I want to make some indie rock stuff, then I need to get somebody on a team that really understands that world.
Absolutely.
So to amplify this gentleman's question, which was a great question, now you're always looking for team.
Always.
And that's what Music Mogul's about.
Always. I have about my publishing company. I have about 11 producers, songwriters that I publish now, and 7 out of 11 are killing the game right now. Harmony and Jukebox, they're doing their thing, man. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. William, fire away.
Question to Rodney: are you still using the MPC as your centerpiece, or do you use Machine? Favorite virtual instruments these days?
Great question.
I have about 4 MPCs in front of my face every day. The MPC. The reason why I believe I don't really use the MPC that much for sounds though anymore. What I use Logic and I use the Machine. I use all these for sounds, but the MPC for sequencing. Because there's something about when I turn the quantize off of the MPC, or even if I have it on, it still gives me a feeling of it feels human and not like a machine.
The Four brothers told me that it has a loose clock, is why
it does.
It does that.
It's always if you line. I always have to line up. It's funny because when other producers that I work with on my team, whenever they do songs that they like may have done in Logic or Reason, and if I have to add something out of the MP, we have to shift it back. It's always a hair late.
I'll be done.
Always.
William?
That's cool.
Let's see here. From Mr. Brownstone, 23, question for Rodney. In your experience with background vocals, do you find the best results come from getting a singer to record all the harmonies in a similar tone of voice, or do you like them to mix up their tone like singing breathy or nasally, etc.?
Mr. Brownstone, I love mixing it up. I love it. What I'll do is, one thing that I love to do is, I might do 4 tracks of airy, breathy, and then I might do, depending on what the feeling of the song is, I might do another 4 tracks of just right, what the melody is, and then we do the harmonies, and then I like the panning to kind of go like this, where it becomes from hard right, left on the first 2, we come into like right around 10 and 2 o'clock, and then we come in even closer, and we go like this, so, and it just creates more of a hover of a sound for me.
Great stuff.
Will, give us one more.
All right, this one's kind of the general sentiment of the chat room for a lot of people, and I'll just choose this one. Do you have any tips for a talented producer to market him or herself in today's overcrowded music market? And do you feel it would be better to pursue a signing opportunity with a record label, or continue to sell tracks to unsigned artists, or maybe something else?
I don't even know that it's overcrowded. I think that the market is available to new, young, hungry talent. I believe that because of the internet, you can get your stuff out there and it can be heard. I do believe that the superstars will shine. They'll find a way, and their sound will find a way out. And the traditional way of getting songs placed on artists and labels is one way, and yeah, you should continue to pursue that. But at the same time, just put some stuff out on your own, because if it's great, it's gonna create a buzz.
That's right. Can I add to that too, because it's a little bit kind of in my space as well? I think ultimately, guys, people like Rodney, and we're in those discussions now, and who knows, we might have some discussions together. We're finding ways to model this so that music can be found easier, and we can separate those kind of superstar, those guys with potential, and be able to help nurture that through an internet kind of way. It used to be, in my opinion, just throwing it out into the wild, wild west is one thing, and it makes us have to find ways to collect it and gather it and sort through it with time. And it's becoming more sophisticated on how to do that. So we're in some interesting discussions about that. Rodney's already doing some things. And what I'm finding is that camps are now talking about, how do we get together and do this?
Yeah, I'm always looking for talent, always. Like I believe, I believe that one day we will be #1 in every genre. And you'll wake up and be like, whoa, how is that even possible?
Absolutely.
But I believe it can be done with the right team.
Worldwide market share.
Rodney, what's the hardest thing to find for your camp? A lyric writer, a melody person?
Yeah.
The lyrics and melodies
it's
are
hard.
hardest
You
to
know
find?
what? To find great lyric melody writers is so hard.
You
I find more
count-
producers
you
than
count them on one hand right now.
Yeah, it's very hard. And by the way,
Consistent.
it's about, as you know, for all the lyric and melody writers out there, it's not about just writing lyrics or coming up with a melody. It's about that new thing and that new direction, and how are you going to say something different? Nothing's new under the sun, but if I'm saying I love you, I don't want to say I love you. I want to say it differently. So how can I say those 3 words totally different?
Absolutely. One last thing before you say goodbyes. Of your vast knowledge and experience, but more importantly, just the way you tell people and your enthusiasm and humanity, we have about scratched about that much. So unfortunately, you're going to have to come back a lot.
I would love to come back. This is great what you guys are doing.
Thanks, man.
I think it's genius.
Thanks,
I
man.
think it's brilliant, and I love to come back.
That's right.
We will take you up on that, man. What a great, I can always tell a great hour when I don't want it to stop, and I didn't know it was going by. Absolutely wonderful, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that's right.
Keep it going.
Oh,
Keep it going.
there we go. Take us home, Dave.
Man, I know how busy Rodney is. For him to carve out time for us is really special, and I hope you guys at home play this one back several times, because we got a lot packed in a short amount of time. And I want you, on this one, as much as any show we've ever had, I want you to read between the lines. I want you to kind of analyze his spirit, analyze his approach to things, his concepts, his philosophy, and maybe you can be on his team someday soon, and hopefully we can have been a little small part of that. Rodney, thank you, my friend.
Appreciate you guys.
And guys, we'll see you next week.